historically, the way architect and designer has been dealing with disability has been limited to a specific type of disability, addressing exclusively towards user with wheelchairs. What universal design challenged and then changed is that actually disability has much wider spectrum, and then our body is very diverse. So try to accommodate many different body ability and preferences into the consideration of the design of architecture or the product. In that context, universal design has been very thought-provoking philosophy. But then also as a method, they had a number of contributions which universal design brought to the discourse. One is that the building regulation or the design guide has been more focused on wheelchair-bound user or partially blind people. But then now the discussion has been expanded so that many of the design guide and the building regulation start discussing more diverse users. What universal design also brought was that so-called people-centered approach. So that design method to actually engage with the real users and then try to sensitize designers in order to respond to the different demand of the user. We, as an educational institution, try to educate the student in order to, one, become sensitized to the user, and then also to be familiar with building regulation and the design guide. So by having a both approach, I think we can produce a better architect and designer. The role of building regulation of design rule, which is the tool which provide a point of reference for the designer, but then also for the municipality actually to control the quality of an architecture or the building or the landscape. By questioning the quality and then role of this building regulation or design guide, we constantly work to upgrade this building regulation, because also the client need to become very aware of actually why we need to emphasize this aspect of accessibility and universal design, because that if you are not aware of and if you don't address correctly, you exclude people. And then client is the one also you can sign off the document, but then also place the demand to the architect and to the designer. I think that the main challenge I see is that very conventional way of perceiving disability. So as I mentioned already, as even the building regulations do, there is a certain emphasis on particular type of disability, which I think is very important. If you are wheelchair bound, there's a place you cannot reach. We need to overcome this. We need to challenge this. But then quickly, architect and designer associate, say, accessibility or universal design, something to do with a wheelchair user. And then this engagement with particular type of user, many designer and architects think this would hinder their creative process, so that they would like to not to deal with actually, say, the building regulation, because this is kind of a conventional way of perceiving accessibility and disability. So this very bad habit of a designer and architect, this is the challenge. Yeah, so I think the challenge is to change the mindset of an architect and designer who believe something to do with disability, accessibility, universal design always reduced to particular type of user, which is wheelchair bound. We need to educate young designer and architect who are the future, who can influence our built environment or material environment. So by educating them, changing their mindset, I think we can radically change. But of course, it takes time because we need to teach them